The Sound and the Fury is probably the most difficult book I've ever read, and I think it's worth every bit of effort. If you can crack the stylistic challenges here, this is a book that will reward you for your patience. I think that I will probably think about this book forever. The Sound and the Fury follows the once prosperous Compson family of Jefferson, Mississippi, and the events surrounding the teenage pregnancy and failed marriage of their sole daughter, Caddy. This event, which takes place in 1909, has far-reaching consequences for the family, which includes her intellectually disabled brother Benjy, who adores Caddy and essentially loses his best friend in the aftermath, her heartbroken brother Quentin, who in his grief over the situation is driven to take his own life, and her third brother Jason, who rules the family with an iron fist following the death of his brother and his father and the subsequent taking in of Caddy's daughter, Miss Quentin. Caddy herself at one point is married off to a man in Indiana, but once he learns of her pregnancy prior to their marriage, he divorces her, and she's never really allowed to re-enter the family. Jason is promised a job at his brother-in-law's bank, but once the marriage falls through, that is taken from him, which is something that he will never forgive and he will never forget. The events of this book are split into 4 parts: Quentin's chapter in 1910, and the 3 other chapters that take place over Easter weekend in 1928. Benjy, Quentin, and Jason, as well as the family's servant Dilsey, are all given chapters. And Caddy, who is really the central and unifying character, is only ever presented to us through the eyes of her brothers. This is a book about pain, about hopelessness, and ultimately, in my opinion, about the grief that we all go through when we feel like a future has been taken from us. Unequivocally, yes, I am so glad that I read this book. Like I mentioned previously, this is probably the most difficult book I've read to date. And that stems mostly from the stream of consciousness style of writing that is exhibited in the first 2 chapters. The first chapter follows Benjy, who is severely mentally disabled, and his chapter is split between his current present-day thoughts, which are often jumbled and confusing, mixed with memories of his childhood and specifically from the evening that Caddy's rendezvous was discovered. The thoughts often run right into each other and are only differentiated by italicized font. There's almost no punctuation here. And the nature of Benjy's mental state keeps us from clear context clues, and we mostly rely on his immediate emotional responses. But Benjy's chapter tells us so much about the family and how they treat him, and it really lays the groundwork for how important Caddy is to the structure and the spiritual foundation of this family. Caddy is overwhelmingly Benjy's favorite, and to witness her fall from grace through the eyes of someone who does not understand what is happening but can emotionally detect and intuit a change in her and in the family was very moving. There is a scene where Benjy, who seemingly does not know what intercourse is, can tell that Caddy has changed, and that upsets him greatly, and he begins to paw at her clothing. That scene was pretty rough, and his chapter is by far the most disorienting. Quentin's chapter is also similarly structured, and it follows his activities on the day of his death. There are a lot of instances where his memories collide with his current thoughts, which also really emphasize his anguish and cause him to hallucinate and lose touch with his reality. His chapter moved me the most, so I don't really want to get into it too much because I would like for you to read it. As I mentioned, the shadow of Caddy really looms over this family in a large way, as every chapter is concerned with her or her actions. Quentin's heartbroken choice to end his life, Jason's fury at having to raise a disgraced niece and lead a family that he feels does not respect or obey him, and their ailing, widowed mother constant wailing over her failures as a mother and the demise of their family. I also want to point out that Jason Compson is one of the most fascinating characters that I've encountered in a book from this period of time, and also he's easily the most despicable. That guy is a piece of shit. He is a real dick. In a similar fashion to the rest of the Depression-era stuff that I've read, this book is not fun. Nothing good happens to anyone, really. But it also speaks volumes about people, and I was really moved by it. This is a book that asks a lot of you. The non-linear story structure paired with the stream of consciousness writing in some of the chapters can make it very easy to miss small contextual clues that are actually hugely important to specific plot points and character details. This book does not hold your hand and point out all the important stuff along the way. You have to struggle along with it and really pay attention in order to get the full story. The Sound and the Fury is a tremendous book. I really hope that you will give it a shot. 4 out of 5 hammers. There's a cool quote from Faulkner on the back, which I will read. I give you the mausoleum of all hope and desire. I give it to you not that you may remember time, but that you might forget it now and then for a moment and not spend all of your breath trying to conquer it, because no battle is ever won. They are not even fought. The field only reveals to man his own folly and despair, and victory is an illusion of philosophers and fools.